Okay, this is going to be your first resource and probably your most vital, especially if you're a new astrologer. This is Dienst, which is at www.astro.com. It's pronounced Dienst. You can tell just by mousing over the title. They're quite pedantic about it, but what you need to do is go to the My Astro link up here, just underneath the search bar. Give that a click. And just create a new profile for yourself, username and a password and an email address. Now this is free. There is a premium service that's available, but the most vital stuff on this site is free, and this will get you well on your way as an astrologer. Now, once you've created that account and logged in, and you'll see your name up here if you've successfully managed to do that, what you have here is a button that says Add New Astro Data, and that's what we're going to use to generate a natal chart. Now, I strongly recommend that you do this and you use your own natal chart because, well, for obvious reasons, you know yourself better than anybody else. So when we're hitting the mark as we go through this course, the content should resonate with you. Use your own chart as we go through the signs, the houses, planets and aspects, and just compare what you know about yourself with what you're learning in astrology. It's an interesting exercise. Anyway, to do that, click on this button, enter your first name. I've got my cap locks on. Put your gender in, your birth date. Mine is the 10th of February 1971. Now, I was born at 1:50 in the afternoon, and this is on a 24-hour clock, so I put in 13 for 1:50 for the minutes, and I was born in New Zealand, so let's find that in the list. My birth town was Auckland, capital. Now type it until you get an option pop up at the bottom there, and here you see is Auckland, New Zealand equals New Zealand, and this is a latitude and a longitude, meaning it's got to hit. In order for your chart to be accurate as possible, your date, your time, and your geographical information need to be as spot on as you can possibly get. So I'm going to enter that. Show hide extended settings, show map. This is if you really want the whole full user experience, I guess. But the time zone here, if for whatever reason the time calculation, you can see it here on the right hand side, is not right, or if you're a Virgo, you can just drop this box and pick the time zone that's most appropriate for you. Now also, if you have a single sex preference, you can choose that as an option. It won't make a big difference in your natal chart settings, but as you start to use other tools throughout the website, especially compatibility tools and love or romance tools, this will have a bearing on the results that you get too. Now I'm going to click continue. You see what has happened is you've got a chart is built down here. I'm just going to click on this. This will bring you to this page, and look at the massive array of tools that are available right now to help you learn more about astrology. But the one that we want to use right now is chart drawing, ascendant. I'm just going to click on that, and what you see here is a snapshot of my natal chart. Now here's the I'm just going to click on this image, and it'll bring just the image up in a pane. You can save this image as if you're using a Windows PC. Now what I'm doing, I'm holding control here and using my mouse key to scroll in. You'll see here on the top left there is my name, my birth date information, my birth time, my geographical information. We're using Placidus as a house system, which for a lot of people is the default, and you can tell because that line's skewed, meaning that it's not equal house. But here I have a list of all the planets on the chart, and it will show you the sign that the planet's in and the degrees that it inhabits. Here is the chart, the signs around the outside, the houses on the inside. We've got planets in the houses, and we've got aspects linking them all up. Red ones meaning hard aspects or challenging ones, and the blue ones are the softer ones or the more harmonious aspects. Now on the left hand side, and this is a constant for most astrology software tools, you'll see a grid with a whole bunch of planets going down diagonally. This is a tool that shows you the aspects on the chart, so I don't have to look at this line here, for example, and try and figure out what sort of aspect it is. I can just look at this grid, and you'll see here's the sun, here's the moon, and between the two of them it's recognizing that there's an opposition. Now on the chart, here's my sun, here's my moon, and there is in fact an opposition running down between those. If I look here at Saturn, I can see Saturn square the moon. Let's find Saturn here. There's Saturn square the moon, and also square the sun too. So this grid will show you at a glance what aspects are running on your chart. Now what it won't show you is the degree or the orb of that aspect. For example, here, have a look. We've got Jupiter and Mars that are conjunct to each other, but there's an 8-degree difference there. Now they're sort of major planets. They're both personal planets, so I guess you'd let that go. But if they were weak planets or poorly aspected planets, you wouldn't be that serious. You know what I mean? You'd have some sort of bearing on that anyway. But this chart that I'm looking at here right now, I strongly recommend you save a copy of that, put it on a Word document and print it off so you can write on it, you can put notes on it, that sort of thing, and keep this next to you as you go through the course, because almost everything that we do in this course you'll be able to reference on this chart. Now at the opposite end of the astrology spectrum we have Solofire. This is an Australian program built by a company called Astro I've been using Solofire since version 5 and we're currently up to version 9. When I first started using Solofire, it had a whole bunch of other supporting programs with a whole bunch of additional functions. Over time most of these have been absorbed into the main program, so you're looking at a very comprehensive, very detailed package here. Just to give you an example, I'm looking at the preferences at the moment that you can set, and these preferences configure and tweak absolutely everything. They take into account an enormous array of different styles and schools of thought and types of astrology, configurability. This is just setting the defaults for each chart that you create as completely off the charts. Now, just creating a new chart's pretty straightforward. I'm just editing an existing one at the moment, but you can see here everything's here that you expect. Name, date, time, where you were born. There's an atlas built into the program, so you can just click on place, type in a partial string, hit lookup, and it will start running a search for you know, whatever place it is that you put there. If you're wanting to absolutely get as much accuracy as possible, you can always Google the latitude and longitude of the hospital you were born in rather than just the city. Put those coordinates in there, and you know, that will be about as accurate as a chart can get. A whole bunch of different house styles that you can use are all built into it. So we're looking at a very comprehensive package. Now you can configure an enormous amount of details in this program, and you can save these configurations so you can switch between them at any time, including on a chart while you're working on it live. These are all the default display points that are on there, with a couple that I've put together just for this course. So yes, you can create new display point sets and so on, and then save those as a configuration. What else have we got here? You can set your aspects. You can set the whether it includes asteroids, which sorts of aspects you're looking at. It's all fully configurable. You can customize the type of wheel, the look and the feel that you want, and there's an enormous amount of defaults that are set there. And you can also edit these. So if you want to, for example, you feel that's something you want to increase the size of, you can do that, and then just save those changes. I'm not going to save any of these. I prefer the plain vanilla chart that I've got here. Now, if I go to view, I can just open the current chart, or current chart and grid, or just a grid. Here we go. Here's a look at the astrology chart right now. There's all my signs, my houses, my planets, and my aspects all on there, and there's the grid that, you know, we've started to get used to just from astro.com, so everything's in there right now. From the right click menu, I can configure almost all of those major points that I was looking at before. That's all in there. Some nice little features. Reports are built in, so just by doing a report on the current chart, I can, for example, have a look at the weighting, like my sign, elemental and house modalities, all of that sort of stuff. I can go from point to point through this, and this will just give me breakdowns of what's on my chart, and the order can be stacked, it can be edited, all of that sort of stuff. Buy wheels and try wheels are easy. I've got a transits for today's date set there, and what I'm going to do is view a buy wheel chart. On the inner wheel I want my natal chart, and on the outer wheel I want the transits for today. Just viewing that, look at that, there it is right there, a transited version of my natal chart with today's transits over the top. You can see there's a whole lot of Capricorn energy going on there, and Pisces. Okay. Well, what can I say? Solofire's a fully featured, very powerful program. I've been using it for a long time and I still feel like I'm growing into it. And that to me is amazing, that there's so many sides and so many aspects of this program that I'm barely scratching the surface on right now. So rather than hitting my ceiling quickly, I'm still growing into this program. There's still so much to learn. It's the buying Solofire new is relatively expensive. It's an investment. It's for somebody who's serious about their astrology. I can't remember off the top of my head how much it was, but it's a few $100s to purchase. However, the updates, each time a new version is released, I got the update for version 9 at a cost of $150, which is substantially less than buying it new off the shelf, which I think is a very generous business model that they're using there. Solofire is a 10 out of 5 program. It's got absolutely everything, and if you are serious about your astrology, then it's something like this is what you're going to be moving towards. If you're just a beginner, it's probably overkill, but if you know in your bones that you're going to be getting serious about your astrology, you're going to be doing a whole lot of research, and then you're going to be hungry for information, and you're going to be wanting ways to implement all the new stuff that you've learned, and this is the program for you, and I highly recommend it. A few weeks ago I ran some posts across a couple of Facebook astrology groups that I'm on, asking people what programs they use to generate their natal charts, what their preferences are, and one that keeps coming up again and again is a program called Time Passages, like the Al Stewart song. And here we are looking at a screenshot of it right now. It's available on Windows and also on Mac OS. You can run it off an iPhone if you want to. It's a fully featured program. You can see here it's got a lot of different options built into it. You've got 4 different levels of package that you can purchase too, with the trimmed down package being quite lean, but it will get you started, and that's enough to get you up and running. I haven't used it for obvious reasons. Like I said, I'm a Solofire user myself, but it comes highly praised by a lot of people, and you'll see in their list of references and people who've written supporting comments about the program that there are quite famous astrologers that use it or have been involved in the development process too. Now, another recommendation that comes up time and time again is Astro Matrix. It's an app. It's available on most platforms from what I understand. It's on Android. So if you're looking for an Android option, then this is definitely a good road for you to follow. I've downloaded and installed it and played around with it on my tablet, and it's got a bunch of excellent free features in there built in that will get you up and running as well. So this is something definitely worth checking out. With so many different styles of astrology out there, there's almost as many different programs as there are platforms or schools of doing astrology. So you'll find that astrology is a very preferential thing, and I think this is reflected in a lot of the apps and the resources that are out there. Once you find one that you resonate with and you start using it, I personally find it quite difficult to use other platforms and so on. So my personal recommendations are going to be very, very subjective. They're going to be based on my needs and my interests and my way of thinking. And in that regard, Solofire is perfect for me. And I found that the further I've gotten into Solofire, the more difficult it is for me to pick up other programs and so on. So what I'm going to invite you to do is look at astro.com as a starting point. Start to develop your own way of doing things in your own style of learning. You'll quickly figure out what appeals to you and what doesn't, and then branch out from there. I recommend that as you get more and more interested in this very broad, very diverse topic, that you invest in a platform and some piece of software that's complementary to your learning style, that's going to help you do what you want to do quickly, and use that as a platform to build out from.